In this episode, I will discuss fantasy, creativity, originality, talent, aesthetics, taste, as well as how we observe art. Fantasy is one of the most enigmatic activities of humans. It's a bridge between subconscious and conscious. Children develop fantasy early on. They draw, paint, and develop stories on their own, even the scary stories. Here's an interesting fact. Children are afraid of dark and monsters. What monsters have? Big eyes and claws. Who else has claws, big eyes, and lives in the dark? Lions, hyenas, wolves, bears. When children start to get better in their skill as an artist, the culture and society, directly or indirectly, puts restraints on them. Picasso said, "Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up." When we dream, our fantasies are at work. Animals dream too, but they don't share their dreams. Of course, there's elephants and chimpanzees who paint, yes. But how much is their own fantasy and creativity, and how much it is of their human teachers? Are they aware of their creation, or they just want to finish a complex task so they can get the treats from humans? Fantasy is driven by intuition. Fantasy is a force that is within all of us, driving our imagination. Through art, we bring those fantasies to life, creating entire worlds, characters, and stories that transcend reality. Fantasy makes us creative. Creativity is a core aspect of any artistic endeavor. Creativity is possessed by every human. Maybe not artistic creativity, but problem solving. Artists have the unique ability to transform their thoughts and emotions into tangible forms of expression. But where does creativity come from? Look at Picasso's creation, the head of a bull, crafted from bicycle seat and handlebars. The sculpture is simple but brilliant. That's fantasy, imagination, and creativity. It's a talent to take objects and turn them into something new. Recognizing and nurturing artistic talent, especially with children, can lead to an amazing artist. Look at Mozart. He started composing when he was 5. They were simple compositions, but he had talent, and it was recognized and nourished. Same with Picasso. He painted paintings when he was 13, as some artists when they were in their 30s. Both Mozart's and Picasso's father were artists themselves, and they encouraged their sons. Artists, especially those that became immortal, were extremely original. Originality in art involves embracing a radical and revolutionary approach, potentially even groundbreaking, introducing novel concepts that offer the world something unprecedented, often presenting forward thinking that disregards traditions or social norms. An original piece of artwork reflects the artist's unique perspective, innovative ideas, and creativity, setting it distinctly apart from previous works. Originality and meaning are essential aspects of the language of art. Artists have the ability to create something entirely new. Originality creates a unique style. In the beginning, the term style had its origins in Latin. It meant a distinct shape of a letter as written by hand. Art historians invented artistic style to easier categorize artists. It also helped separate, for example, Egyptian and Greek artistic styles from Roman or Chinese. Style is unique expression of a culture, but also artists themselves within that culture. But what is more important, in my opinion, is the purpose and essence of artworks. They are there to be loved and admired, to be inspired by them, not to discuss their styles too much. I know, it helps knowing, but it's not important. Imagine two painters from the same historical period, both belonging, let's say, to Impressionist movement. The first artist meticulously followed the Impressionist style, colors and capturing play of light. The second artist, while influenced by Impressionism, incorporates elements of their personal experience and emotions into their work. While the first artist's style aligns more closely with the movement's characteristics, the second artist's individuality shines through, adding depth to their art. So, which one is better? That's taste. And taste, especially in art, is subjective experience. I talked about subjective experience in art in the second episode. If you didn't check it, go and listen. Each individual taste plays a significant role in how they perceive and appreciate art. I have a friend who loves surrealism, but not Renaissance painters. He said to me, "I don't know what art is or isn't, but I know what I like." That's totally fine. We all know what we like and dislike. But most of the time, when we say "I like," whatever it is, it means I'm familiar with this or that. To learn how to observe art, it's good to know about the visual elements of art. There are 12 of them. You know that feeling when you look at a painting and wonder, how did they do that? Well, whether you are gazing at a painting, observing a photograph or a sculpture, admiring a sacred or any other building, you're witnessing an artwork that is made of visual elements. I will begin with the fundamental element, the line. They can be straight, curvy, thick or thin. Van Gogh's Starry Night uses lines to convey movement and depth. The line creates paths, boundaries, shapes. And shapes, think of them as building blocks of art. They can be two-dimensional, like squares and circles, or in free form and organic. Composition with Red, Blue and Yellow by Piet Mondrian exemplifies how shapes can be used to create dynamic composition. If lines are the key that unlocks the artist's intentions, then the shapes breathe life to their ideas. The lines and shape create forms. They are three-dimensional counterparts to shapes, possessing volume, depth, and height. Think of sculptures, for example, The Thinker by Auguste Rodin. As a fourth visual element, we have color, the emotional palette of art. They sway moods, evoke feelings, and set the atmosphere. Composition 7 by Wassily Kandinsky shows the use of colors to express abstract ideas. I must mention, did you know that black and white are not colors? Black is the absence of light, while white represents its presence. Anyway, the colors are primary, blue, yellow, and red, secondary, orange, violet, and green, and tertiary colors that are red-orange, yellow-orange, yellow-green, blue-green, blue-violet, red-violet, and red-violet. Complementary colors are a pair of colors that create strong contrast when placed together. Blue is contrast to orange, yellow to purple, and green to red. Red is redder when placed next to the green. By the way, the greatest contrast is black and white, but that's not colors. They are a range of lightness and darkness in artwork. Black and white are depth and shading. Contrast, both in colors and shape, is a visual element too. The play of opposites, light and dark, large or small. Contrast shapes the edge and directs our attention to the most captivating parts of an artwork. Silhouette cutouts by Kara Walker use contrast to address complex social themes. Texture is the sixth visual element. Texture is perceived surface of an object. Observe Louise Bourgeois' Maman, a sculpture of a massive spider with textured legs. Then we have space as a visual element. Not the cosmos, but the space within and around an artwork, creating depth and perspective. The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci shows the depth and perspective through spatial arrangement. Positive space is occupied by objects, while negative space is the area around them. Both positive and negative space shows objects in relation to one another. And then there is a proportion. Proportions were used to create balanced and harmonious statues, such as Doriforos by Polykleitos. Funny thing, for me it's easier to say Doriforos than a word that describes a man who carries a spear in English. Anyway, just like life, art seeks balance or equilibrium. It's a visual element which can be symmetrical or asymmetrical. Symmetrical balance adds stability, and asymmetrical adds intrigue or mystery to an artwork. In ancient Egyptian art, like the palette of Narmer, Symmetrical balance is evident in arrangements of elements, but also shows the movement captured in frame. That's why the movement is one of the visual elements. Electric Prisms by Sonia Delaunay demonstrate rhythmic movement in abstract art. Which brings me to the rhythm. As much as musical rhythm, visual rhythm repeats elements, dots, lines, or shapes, and creates harmony and some kind of a patterns. Observe that in Islamic art, the repetition of geometric patterns create a sense of rhythm, as in tile work in Alhambra. Think of a rhythm as a art beat, and they all create composition. Girl with a Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer is an example of masterful composition that guide the viewer's attention. I know that these artworks are unknown to some of you. Maybe you know all of them. But be sure that I'm going to speak about each of them in the future episodes. In previous episodes, I discussed what art is, or what is a masterpiece. If you didn't listen, please do. But with this episode, I believe that you have now understanding of visual arts. I don't know what else to say in this episode. I want to thank you for joining and listening. I hope I inspired you. I hope you learned something.